So, unfortunately, which is consistent with my life, my dryer broke, so don't have my white or my gray shirt dried. Still in the red shirt today. So, this is a video that's honestly been a long time coming. I just never made it. But I have mentioned elements of what I'm going to talk about today for several years now, actually. I've just never really put it into one compact video like I'm doing right now. And that is why relationships are so terrible. And more specifically, why relationships between men and women are terrible, and why a lot of the time they're prone to fail, and why people end up miserable in them. Because there's actually lots of obvious reasons as to why, and I think that if you understand these reasons and you actively work to try to avoid these being the motivations as to why you're in a relationship, you'll probably end up a lot happier. If not happier, you'll end up single but working towards being a good person to be in a relationship with. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know, and a lot of people watch my channel are MGTOW anyway, so they don't even want to be in relationships. You know that currently the relationship between men and women is pretty tense. It's bad. It's real bad. It's not bad for everyone, obviously not, but it's not good for a lot of people either. It's not just amongst you have lonely people. You have people who are currently in relationships that are just sad and miserable, you know, and just kind of angry all the time. Kind of made me start thinking about this was my sister and her boyfriend. They live with me now, and my sister, she's gonna have a child at this point, I believe. As I record this video, she's still in the womb, but when I upload the video, she probably won't be. So who knows? But yeah, so they've been living with me for a while now, and they argue quite a bit. And the shit's fucking aggravating, I'm not even gonna lie. So they're a bit of the catalyst of why I wanted to make this video, kind of talk about that a little bit too. But not just with them, just with lots of people. There's lots of dissatisfaction I've seen in relationships for years now. So why is that? Why are relationships so tough to navigate, and why are they so hard to deal with? Well, there's actually one very important reason why. I think this is probably one of the most important reasons why, and something that's going to help you, the viewer, out quite a bit, I hope. And that is, a lot of people I've noticed do not get into relationships for the sake of the other person, but they get into the relationship more for the sake of themselves. So what I mean by that is a lot of people do not like the other person that they're dating. They like the way the other person makes them feel. And this is an absolutely abhorrent way, not only to treat another person, but to base a relationship on. Or they like the way the other person looks. Some relationships are just genuinely purely physical. They just like having sex. Some of that's simple. But a lot more relationships are more along the lines of you like the way the other person makes you feel. Now this affects women a lot more than it affects men. The personality or the trait of liking the way someone makes you feel. Most men aren't normally stuck in relationships for that reason. Most men are normally stuck in that relationship out of desperation or lack of ability to try to find other women to date. However, it does affect men too. This is a primarily trait that I see in a lot of people in our contemporary society. They're not in relationships because they like the other person, they want to improve the other person, or they just genuinely want to love and take care of the other person. They're in the relationship because they like the way the person made them feel at a particular a particular time. And you can see a lot of this in media, actually, which is actually pretty interesting. You can even see a lot of this just kind of even in the way a lot of men court women. So if I'll give you an example in media, actually. Spider-Man is one of my favorite movies of all time, honestly. But even like in the ending scene with Spider-Man and Peter Parker, you can see the element of what I'm referring to plain as day. Actually, hopefully I don't get a copyright strike, but I'll play it right now for you guys. You'll see.
There's only one man who's always been there for me, who makes me feel like I'm more than I ever thought I could be. That I'm just me, and that's okay. The truth is, I love you. I love you so much, Peter.
Now you'll notice in Mary Jane's confession, she didn't say why Peter Parker was a great person. She said why Peter Parker makes her feel good about herself. It wasn't her love for him. And again, I still think Spider-Man is a great movie. I still like Spider-Man, but I mean, just taking a critical look, clear as day, she is saying she loves Peter because he makes her feel good about her. So, I think here's another thing I actually thought was pretty funny. This guy, I think his name is called ER on YouTube. He makes really great video essays about different shows and movies. But he said something in his review about The Legend of Korra that really stuck out to me. And I remember even now because it's actually a really perfect and succinct way of how a lot of men try to court women and how men try to date women. And how successful it is or isn't. And this is actually what he says right here.
Then Bolin swoops in for the kill with,
"You're the smartest, funniest, toughest, buffest, talentedest, incrediblest girl in the world."
You really feel that way about me?
"Remember kids, if you can't get a girl to like you, get her to like herself while in your presence. The girl will always desire to love herself."
And as bluntly as that statement is, it's hilariously and shockingly true. That is how a lot of young men do try to court women. Even I've done it too when I was a lot younger. I was trying to make the woman feel good about herself in my presence. It's not a good way to go about, and I'll explain why, and as the video goes on. But the fact remains, that is how a lot of men try to court women, and that is how a lot of women view their relationships with the men that they're dating. It's about, how is he going to make me feel good about me? And this is actually a terrible way to go about a relationship. And the reason why is because the person is not always going to make you feel good about you because they're another individual. And that's not something people consider because they're not in the relationship because they care about the other person. They're in the relationship because they care about the feel-good feelings they're going to get. This is why a lot of relationships break down, because it's not about how two people are going to work together or how two people are going to raise children, which really is the point of getting married and being in a relationship with a woman or with a man. That is the fundamental principle of why you'd be in a relationship. If you don't have any goals in trying to create a stable environment for children, I mean, you're just super friends, and you can have friends. There's no real reason to live with the person and bind your life to them if you just intend on just being childless forever. I mean, you can, if the woman ends up, being infertile. I mean, I'm not saying you should get a divorce with her. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that is the principal idea. So it doesn't mean that you could never be with someone. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that if you have no intentions at all, it's probably a lot better just avoiding the shit altogether. That being said, just getting more on track, the principal idea of a relationship is, again, you're trying to create a stable environment to one day have children. If not, you're already planning on having it. So the person you should be with should be someone that you like and care about, and in some capacity, because you're going to be spending a lot of time with this person. And I think it's really important because a lot of people, they focus more on the fact that they like the person, more so the fact that the person is a person, I guess. So what I'm trying to say is, like, again, it's still always on the feel-good emotions you get from the attributes you like about the person. Whether you like as a man, you like the way she looks, or maybe you like the way she laughs, all the superficial shit. But you don't really take her as a person that has her own thoughts and ideas into consideration because you only really care about the fact that she makes you look good to other people. And as a woman, same deal. You like the fact that, he writes you poems. You like the fact, maybe some women like that shit still, I don't know. But you just kind of like the way that he makes you feel as a woman. He makes you feel good about yourself, The reason why this is a terrible way, like I said earlier, is because the person's not always going to make you feel good about yourself because they have their own life. They have their own thoughts. They do their own shit. They're not going to be there for you 24/7. Even if you guys live together, even if you're in a relationship, there's other things that they're going to be doing. You're never going to be the sole focus of anyone's life, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's not a terrible thing to say, but the relationship will break down because you start to realize, funnily enough, you don't fucking like the person that you're with, because some people, they suck, to put it bluntly, and relationships fail. The problem with relationships failing is the fact that is how they fail and how volatile they become when they fail, because people try so hard to keep them together when they really shouldn't. No one can ever just be like, yeah, okay, this doesn't work, so I'll go this way, you go that way. It's good times, right? High five. no one, some people break up like that and it's awesome, but it doesn't really happen. It's usually very volatile and angry. And a lot of people become jagged. And there's a reason for that too, which I may or may not cover in today's video. But the fact remains, when relationships break down like that, it's because a lot of people are trying to recover, or trying to get the relationship back to the point where he made them feel good, or she made them feel good about themselves, or get back to the point where things were great, when it's not, because you never addressed the core principle idea that you don't fucking like the person that you're with. And this is very important. This is very important. A lot of people need to realize this. You end up being in relationships with people you don't fucking like. You like the way they look, you like the way they made you feel, but them as a person might suck, and they stay. And it's not, and this isn't just, you know, abusive relationships. I mean, abusive relationships are a lot more complex than what I'm describing. I'm just talking about volatile relationships where they argue a lot. I'm not talking about getting smacked around or getting called names. None of that. That's another video. But in the terrible, they argue a whole bunch type of relationships, it is because you come to realize that after the 4, 6 month, maybe a year of being doped up on these emotions, you never actually formed a friendship with the person. You never actually formed a relationship with the person that goes deeper than the fact that they just made you feel good. And of course relationship's going to break down, because you realize that there's nothing keeping you there other than the fact that you've spent lots of time with the person. Now, most people normally do start to care about someone that they spend more time with, even if they don't like them. Actually, I think this might be true for anything and everything. I mean, there's actually the dog over there. I hate that dog, but I do not want anything bad to happen to him. I mean, I've spent, I don't know what, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years with a dog. I don't know. Even all this time, I still don't like the dog, but I don't want anything bad to happen to the dog. I don't want any misfortune to happen to the dog, even if I don't like him. I do care. I have to admit, I do care in some capacity, and that's going to happen when you spend lots of time with people. And that's the truth of the matter, is you care about this person that you don't fucking like, and that's why you stay in that relationship. But it's not going to make anything better, because again, there's never any stable foundation built on it. You know, so one thing that I think is really, really hilarious, at least to me, that I was thinking about the other day, is like a lot of the time, a lot of people end up arguing a lot. And the reason why that is because there's a lot of aggression that's pent up beneath the argument that is never being addressed, because the obvious conclusion is, if it is addressed, if the ultimate problem is addressed, it might end the relationship, or it might damage the relationship to a point where, you know, I think I'm just kind of reiterating it might end it, or it just might damage it if you're not, you know, mature enough to just break away. I'll give an example. So the other day, this actually isn't the other day. My sister and her boyfriend have had this argument. I recall 3 fucking times, and I say that obviously really, you know, aggressively, because the shit is fucking aggravating. I'm not even gonna lie, it's just fucking annoying. So what happened was, this is, you're gonna find how silly this shit is as I explain it. What happened was her boyfriend asked my sister. He said, "Can you make me some Velveeta macaroni and cheese?" And for those of y'all who don't know what Velveeta is, it's this shit right here. So he's like, "Can you make me some of this, you know, to eat?" My sister's like, "Yeah, sure, I can do that." And she does. Well, but what she does is, when she makes it, she puts, you know, sour cream in it. She puts you know, salt, pepper in there, and just mix it up with different ingredients. So basically, my sister got this recipe from my mom. This is how my mom likes to make the Velveeta macaroni and cheese, like for special occasions and shit like that. Excuse me. Her boyfriend didn't like it. He just wanted out of the box regular Velveeta. That's what he wanted. He didn't get that. They literally argued. I don't know how many times they've argued about this, but I remember 3 times of them having a fucking volatile, angry argument about this goddamn macaroni and cheese. Arguing about the fact that, now here's the thing that's interesting about the arguments that they were having. They're both right. My sister was saying that, look, she didn't know that he just wanted it out the box. This is how my mom made it. It's muscle memory. I thought you would like it. Want to introduce it to you. Have some. And you want to know something? I think that's reasonable. And at the same time, her boyfriend was like, yeah, but I didn't ask for that. I just wanted the regular macaroni and cheese. I don't really like all the other stuff on it. That's reasonable too. I mean, they both had a good point. I mean, They just didn't communicate what they wanted to each other. And you want to know something? That's okay. I mean, you know, she made it, he didn't like it. That's okay. You know, he didn't want to eat it. That's fine. The problem is the fact that they both got offended and got upset with each other, and they kept fucking arguing about this goddamn macaroni and cheese. When in all actuality, they were both right. They just both were wrong. He didn't communicate what he wanted. She didn't know that he didn't want it, and it's okay. It's actually the thing that's interesting about the argument is that it's actually perfectly fine. It's an okay thing. It's okay to fuck up sometimes. It really is. A lot of people, they think it's bad. No, it's okay to fuck up sometimes. But the fact is, here's the thing. Here's the problem. Here's the point. The point is, they're not arguing about the macaroni and cheese. I remember a couple years ago, I was in a creative writing class, and my professor, she told me a story about how this man and his wife were arguing about a sock that their son did not put up. And she says, if two people are arguing about socks, they're not arguing about socks. Obviously, the point being that the trivial nonsense that causes volatile arguments with people is not the trivial matter, as the fact that there's something underlying in the relationship that's not being addressed, that's causing these people to be upset. And so that is the second reason. I go on to say that is the second reason why a lot of relationships are shitty and terrible. Because people do not address problems in their life. They'll talk about problems to other people, but they don't talk to the other person about the problem. And I think the reason why, I think, is definitely mistrust. Because you don't trust that the person has the, I guess I want to say capacity, but maybe that's not even the correct word. You don't trust that the person maybe has the ability to accept what you have to say and will change accordingly, or you don't have the ability to accept that they're not going to change and to make the decision to accept that or not. I think a lot of things that when it comes down to it, because the relationship was already fundamentally built on something nonsensical, that is, you made me feel good about me, you never stop and really consider the other person as a person. So you don't trust the person because you don't really know them. You don't really care about them as far as that. So when there's a problem or an underlying issue in the relationship that's never going to be addressed, you don't address it because you don't trust that the person will do anything about it. You don't trust that they'll change. You don't trust that they'll, be able to reasonably talk to you about it or reasonably be able to do something about it. And so you end up getting frustrated. You end up getting really mad all the fucking time about this problem that in your mind, you have a detailed essay. You got a 5-page, 500-word essay, 5,000-word essay as to why this person is on some other shit wanting to change. But because you never said anything, the person never has any capacity, never has a chance to change, never even think about it. And because you never say anything, you just get angrier and angrier and madder and madder. And so you're stuck in this shitty relationship with this person because you're afraid to talk to them about it. You're afraid that they're not going to do anything. And you're afraid that you're going to actually have to end the relationship because you just don't have enough, you don't have the wherewithal to say, hey, this is a problem that needs to be fixed. And sometimes the person has no desire to change and no desire to become a different person. And you're going to have to face the inevitability that you're just going to have to end the relationship if you don't like that aspect of them. You're just going to have to, it's just going to have to be done. A lot of people don't want to do that. This leads to the third and probably the final reason of this video. This is why these relationships fail. Because getting into other relationships are difficult. Because when you take into consideration, especially for men, I'm going to say it. And if you're a lady, you might disagree, and that's okay. But for men, finding a woman to date is this fucking endeavor. For women, you just constantly reject men left, right, whatever. You don't probably really consider, men in this regard very often. But for men, like, finding a woman to finally fucking be with is hard. And so a lot of men, when they find a woman finally, they're like, I just gotta hang on to her. I gotta, make this shit work because it's a lot of effort to try to get into another relationship. And actually, I don't think that's fair. I think a lot of women probably feel that way too, honestly. You feel like, especially if it's a really long relationship, you feel like since you invested so much time, you don't want to do that again for another person because of how difficult it was and how upsetting, breaking up can be and all that jazz. I'm not trying to make light. It's just, I don't want to go on and on about it. How upsetting that can be. And so because you don't want to go through the effort of trying to, you know, reintroduce yourself to another person, go through all the steps and talk to them, find out if it's good or bad, have sex with them, find out you don't like having sex with them, you know, find out that they're really shitty. You don't want to deal with that. So you just would rather stay with the person that you already have. This is terrible. It's not something you should do because, again, if you're never going to address the problem, and if you don't like the person to begin with, it's never going to get any better. And you're just going to end up creating an environment where you're just miserable. And that, my friends, is why a lot of relationships are just terrible. There's probably other reasons why relationships suck in our contemporary society. But those are the reasons why I have it top of my head. Might update this video. Who knows? Probably not. But those are some reasons why relationships are terrible in our contemporary society. And so hopefully you as a viewer now hearing what I have said will probably analyze the way you view another person, and finally you will say to yourself, I will not date this person because they make me feel good. I will date this person because I care about them as a human being and I wish for their life to be better, and hopefully they wish for my life to be better. Because think about that for a second. If you want their life to be better and they want your life to be better, and you people genuinely care about the other person, you might not agree on how to make your lives better, but at the end of the day you'll appreciate the person and you'll love them and care about them because you know that they've got love in their heart. And so hopefully when you go into looking for a relationship, if you choose to do so, I mean, you could be, you know, MGTOW, bachelor, bachelorette, and don't give a fuck. But if you choose to, hopefully you don't get hooked on the fact that you like the way this person makes you feel. It should not be the basis of your relationship. And hopefully if you're in a relationship, you will gain hopefully the courage to talk to the person about what bothers you, so you guys aren't arguing about fucking macaroni and cheese. So that being said, man, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, man, go ahead, click the like button. Now shoot, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below, and as always, you guys have yourselves a great day, and I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.